All right, here's our video today on UVB Winter, ultraviolet B. And ultraviolet radiation, UV radiation, is a type of energy that's produced by the sun. It's light. That's what it is. It's part of the electromagnetic spectrum. So let me get my pen working. Maybe we'll use that color. So it's part of the electro, and that's not working. Definitely not that one. Maybe we'll try green. The electro, there we go. Electromagnetic spectrum. And that's just light. We're just talking about light. And the only light we only see visible light. So let's make that a little darker. So there's radio. We don't see radio, and there's microwave, and we don't see that. And there's infrared, which we don't see. But mosquitoes see infrared. And there's visible light. That's the only light we see. And of course, there's ultraviolet light, UV, and then there's X-ray. No animals see X-ray. No animals see gamma. And by the way, no animals see radio and microwave. So the only animals or insects is within these wavelengths. So, for example, in infrared, we said mosquitoes see infrared, and in UV, well, bees use UV all the time, right? So when they're looking at flowers, for example, like let's say a yellow primrose, right? So a plain yellow primrose might look, just yellow to us, but in a bee's view, the bee is seen at the center of the flower with the UV. It's pinpointing exactly where the nectar is. So UV helps the bees. And for example, also with, say, birds see in ultraviolet light. So for example, let's say the kestrel, the small hawk, they're using UV to help them look at urine trails of moles and mice, because that's what they eat. So let's go back to UV. So in ultraviolet radiation, there is, and the ozone layer, all right, the ozone layer over here, we have our ozone that protects us from UV, right? But a little goes through, and that's just enough for us, because there's UVA, there's UVB, and guess what the third one is? You got it, C. And C doesn't enter Earth's atmosphere for us, so we don't worry about that. We only get A and B. And from A and B, we only want UVB, because UVB gives us vitamin D, especially vitamin D3. That's what we're looking for, vitamin D3. Vitamin D3 is essential for our health. It's essential for calcium, to move calcium in our body and for our immune system. So let's get a clean page here. So here we have Maria, and she's been in my videos before with her friend Brock. So how does this happen? The thing about vitamin D is it's the only vitamin we get from the sun. Only one. The only vitamin we get from the sun. It's essential we do get vitamin D from the sun. And the thing about the title of this page, it was, ultraviolet UVB Winter. And the thing is, in the winter, we do not get vitamin D, that is, from the sun. So right now we have Maria is out in the field, and she doesn't see the ultraviolet light because we don't see that. We only have 3 cones in our eyes where birds have 4. So they're seeing ultraviolet light. We don't. So all this ultraviolet light is hitting her skin. There's her skin hitting her skin. And so it's being absorbed. So the wavelength of UVB, the one you want, is roughly around maybe 290, maybe to 315 nanometers. That's the wavelength. Shorter than violet, which is visible light, which violet, by the way, is the shortest of the visible light. And when it hits her skin, that UVB radiation is going to hit a molecule into the skin, and it's going to go through her epidermis, the outer layer, the epidermis. And there's this fancy name for a molecule. I'll just write it down here. It's called 7-dehydrocholesterol. See if I fit it in here. Cholesterol. Got it in, right? So 7-dehydrocholesterol is just a molecule that will help synthesize vitamin D3. So the UVB is going to go inside this molecule. It's going to turn it into a pre-vitamin D3. And then all we need is the heat of our body, the heat of the body, to turn it into vitamin D3. And from there, the D3 is going to travel through the bloodstream to the liver and to the kidneys, and we'll finally get the active form we need, all because of the sun. Now the thing is, when we talked about this in the title, is that UVB, depending on the latitude. Now in New York, UVB, you only get UVB radiation from about April to October, because it has to be a certain angle in the sky, which I'll talk about. So between November and March, you're not getting UVB rays, and that's why supplements are necessary. So let me get a clean page here, and make sure the pen's working. So here's Maria and Brock. Now they're sitting on a bench. Now if this was New York, which can't be New York, there's no palm trees in New York, but let's pretend it's New York. Get rid of these palm trees. And let's say they're sitting at the bench, they just came from the gym, whatever it is. So UVB rays, UVB rays are, the atmosphere is going to filter them out, right? And again, remember, the ozone will protect us. But there's this 45 degree, and some get through just enough. Remember, the 45 degree rule we should look about, because if the sun isn't at 45 degrees above the horizon, we're not getting this. So New York's latitude, let's say we're in New York, the latitude in New York is roughly about 41 degrees north. That's the latitude. So again, because of that latitude, from November to March, there is no UVB out. Now in Florida there is. So Florida is one of the few places in the United States where vitamin D winter doesn't exist. But vitamin D winter exists in New York between November and March. So you need supplements. And also there's the shadow rule, if you want to, which will help even in the summer, because if simply, let's just put it simply, right? If your shadow is longer than you, then you will not get vitamin D, right? It's too low, so if your shadow is longer than you, the sun is too low for UVB. UVB. So generally in New York, we'll look at the time in New York, and of course the latitudes around New York, Washington, Philadelphia around that time, 11 to 3. That's general rule. 11 to 3 in the summer. 11 to 3 between April and October. Then again, between November and March, we have UVB winter, which we don't get any. Now, of course, the amount you get is important too, because if you're just getting from your face, UVB from just your face and hands, you probably will have to stay in the sun a lot longer. But if you're at the beach, or if you're outside in in the bathing suit like this, then you just really need, make sure my pen's working, keep that red, you only need about 15 minutes of sun a day. That's all you need to get the vitamin D for the summer, to stock up your vitamin D battery when the winter comes. And of course, so if you're just using hands and maybe just the face and your hands, you would have to stay out a lot longer. Now, can you get enough in the summer to last all year? No, you can't get enough. But there is the storage phase. So if you spend all summer outdoors, you're building up this battery of vitamin D, you'll get to the drain phase, which usually happens by January. So that's when you want to talk to your doctor about supplementing. And when you do supplement, make sure it's D3. They have plenty of this out in the stores. And by the way, you just can't overdose on vitamin D from the sun, right? You may think, well, I'm just going to stay out for 5 hours, which could be dangerous because UVB and UVA, by the way, they're dangerous. That's why you should be using, some UV protection. But don't use any kind of UV protection when you're trying to, just for 15 minutes. Don't do that, because you're trying to get that, You don't want to block any of the UVB getting into your skin. So once you reach your maximum vitamin D, your body knows the maximum for the day. Usually it's 20 minutes, right? The UV will actually break down any excess vitamin D, so you can't overdose from the sun. All right, here's Maria and Brock again now. They're out in Brooklyn in the snow. So again now, because it's December or January, wherever it is, they're not getting any UVB rays. Just to review, though, they're going to be taking supplements. They talk to their doctor. They're taking D3 supplements so they can get that supplement until April comes around. And even in the summer, when UVB winter ends, when the summer is here, or the spring in April, they can get it, from the sun. But again, it's between 11 and 3 in New York. And of course, as you go down in latitude and get more south, when you get to Florida, there's greater time frame of being exposed to UVB. Now, just a quick note on sunscreen. If you wear, a bathing suit, but you're covered with SPF 30, let's say, you're just turning off the solar panels. So you want to use SPF. Even in the winter you want to use it. But again, you don't want to use it when you're out there trying to get that UVB process going to make vitamin D. So, again, the more you expose yourself, the more of your skin is exposed, the less time you actually have to spend in the sun. And remember, UVB does not penetrate glass, so you can't do this inside. You have to be outside. So, again, talk to your doctor about supplements, and that's our video today.